Welcome to the Better Business, Better Life podcast. Terry DuPont is the founder of DuPont Advisory Group, a group dedicated to providing comprehensive services to successful business owners, medical, and other professionals. Terry has top-of-the-table status in the prestigious International $1 Million Roundtable, placing him among the top 0.1% of all professional financial advisors in the world. Terry's philosophy is, I've learned that I grow and prosper more by focusing on the success of others, rather than fretting over my own. Terry is a certified financial professional with the Institute of Financial Wellness, an advisor for the Power of Zero Taxes in Retirement, chartered retirement plans specialist, certified wealth preservation planner, and certified philanthropic developer. On the podcast, Terry brings together experts in their field who have succeeded in building their business to share their secrets with you. And now, here's your host, Terry DuPont.
Welcome, everyone, to this week's episode of Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success. I'm your host, Terry DuPont, and today we're honored and privileged to have John Emshwiller with us. John owns a fairly good-sized accounting firm here in Indiana. Welcome, John. We're glad to have you.
Hey, Terry. Glad to be here. Thanks for having me. Appreciate it.
Thank you. You're welcome. You're welcome. So, John, to get started here, can you tell us a little more about you and why or what started your career?
I will. Yeah. So thank you for asking. Of course, my name is John Emshwiller, and I own the Emshwiller and Emshwiller accounting firm. Have offices in Bluffton, Indiana, and Fort Wayne, Indiana. So, as Terry said, a rather large firm with about 3,000 clients between personal and business clients. So, I'm the fourth generation of my family to own this firm. So, it was actually started in 1944 by my great-grandfather and grandmother. So, I guess that's probably how I ended up in this career, even though I really fought it for many years in regards to that. Sitting behind a desk, working with numbers all day long seemed pretty boring when you're younger. So I'm married, I have 2 children, and now I have 3 grandchildren. So, and I got started in this really because once I got out of college and was out in the real world, I realized that why my father did what he was doing and my uncle was doing. Found out that real need for competent professional tax service and advice for people at a price they could actually afford. You know, we're in small towns, smaller markets, Bluffton and Fort Wayne, and there was a great need for that. And I really saw that when I got out into the world. So even though I really thought I'd fight it and not get into this business, I'd be banking or I'd be a professional, golfer working at a country club. I was pulled back here. So.
Okay, great. Good story. And I'm going to dig into that a little deeper in a minute. But and how many years have you been doing this?
Myself personally, I've been doing this now for 28 years.
Okay. John, in those 28 years, what's the biggest challenge you faced?
Well, that's a great question, Terry, because it's probably going to be early on. I chose and rather to become a CPA, an enrolled agent. Mm-hmm. And a lot of people didn't understand what an enrolled agent was versus a CPA. And so educating people and having to prove yourself at that point in time was much more difficult. But given time and being able to prove yourself to people and do that, then having that enrolled agent designation rather than the CPA has actually proved much more beneficial to both myself and the firm. So,
yeah, I found in life that people don't care about all that alphabet soup.
Mm-hmm.
Okay, and they really, people want to know how much you care before they, care about how much you know, right?
And I agree.
And so that's excellent. Yeah. I know that you have some specialties in your practice, but how did you become the expert in your business to your marketplace?
Well, expert's quite a big word there, Terry. I don't know if I'll consider myself an expert, but I would say that, over my 28 years, I'm a voracious person for education and reading and trying to learn more. So, because we're here for the benefit of our clients, not ourselves at our firm. And so getting that education and knowledge so that when a client has even a unique need, we're going to be able to step in and be able to provide that need. Okay. I got very well versed into the research and development credits called R&D credits, which are a very select but very lucrative section of the IRS code. And that has really grown our firm quite a bit as the word got out that I could help get these R&D credits. And I'm talking, they can be in the millions of dollars for a small business. You don't have to be an Eli Lilly or something to that. And the research and development credits aren't somebody in a white lab coat using beakers. There's a lot of other ways to be able to qualify. So you have to be able to educate your client on how this pertains to them. And so getting that and being able to get that education and understand the code, retain it, and want to know about it. My father once taught me the difference between what he said was smart. Smart says, you know more than the person you're talking to, so guess what? You're going to be great because they'll accept whatever you say. Intelligence is, you want to make sure when you give somebody an answer, you're correct. So if you don't know it exactly, go get the correct answer, find it out, and then relay that information to them. And I've never forgot that. So
excellent. I'm going to go back and revisit a little bit the how you got started. And I know you mentioned that you're a fourth generation owner of the firm, and fourth generation operating the business. Do you feel that is something that was ingrained in you as a child? And was there any pressure on you or anything to get into the business? Can you talk about that a little bit?
Pressure to get into the business? Absolutely. My wife would tell you ingrained in me, no, because I was fully saying I'm not going to live in Bluffton, Indiana, in a small town. I wanted the big city. I wanted to live the corporate life. And so that's what I was actually planning to do. And then once I got out there and got into the big city and experienced the corporate life, I find out it's not what I thought it was. And the benefits of having the small town where people know you and everything else really was a great thing, especially when it came to raising my own children here. And from that standpoint, and being able to grow the business through just word of mouth by doing the right thing and treating people the right way. So, but I worked here as a kid. I understood things, picked up a lot of knowledge that they don't teach you in college, to be honest.
Right.
And so there was always inside of me that little thing that's always sitting there going, yeah, you're going to get back there. You're going to get back there. And then it finally happened. And, I wish my father was still alive today, but, he told me besides the day he got married, it was probably the second best day he ever had when I said I'd like to come back and work for him. So
I can imagine. Yes, yeah. I can imagine. That's a great story. What is something, John, that you know now that you wish you knew when you started?
That's an easy one. That book problems and the way they teach you to do accounting and do anything else isn't the way the real world works. Right. No client brings me in their paperwork the way that it comes in a book problem when you're trying to learn how to do depreciation or you're learning how to, do anything, amortization, the expenses. You understand that, my gosh, it doesn't just take this ledger and come, whoa, everything balances perfectly. It looks great. And you're able to get this done. You have to be able to go beyond that and use common sense. And you have to be able to understand your clients. You have to ask questions. You have to be able to understand how they're doing it so that you can understand to make sure you get their tax return done correctly.
Right.
But yeah, college, a lot of things were very easy and it always came to a very simple answer, and you know what you were getting there.
Mm-hmm.
I scratch my head here every day and I wonder, how did they come up with this?
I get you. Yeah, I understand completely.
Yeah.
Sometimes what they give you is good, but it's not in the practical world. It just doesn't fit well.
It
Uh,
doesn't. And, they understand what they're doing, but they don't understand how does that really fit into the accounting and the tax world.
right.
And so it can sometimes be a frustrating thing for a party.
Okay. Good question. Good answer. I know that you've got some specialty markets. And so what would you say is your unique approach with your clients?
Well, I don't think it's unique, but it's getting less and less nowadays, and that's hands-on. I
Mhm.
like to be able to be in front of my clients, whether I go to their location, have them come in here, because I feel, that's something that we're losing in today's world. We got email, we got fax, you can do Zoom meetings, you can do all of these things, but you can't really find that you understand the client and really know and get to know what they need from that unique perspective. Because again, there aren't any two clients I have. I have two separate dental practices. We do payroll for both. We do their accounting, we do their tax return, but by gosh, there are so many differences between those two. If I can't know my client, be able to really have that relationship to ask questions and know that they can call me anytime as well to be able to do that. So, I find that especially when I pick up new clients, they're like, your willingness to meet with us, to answer our questions, to do those type of things, and a lot of times not even charge them for that,
Right.
because that's something that I think is unique in our smaller family firm here, is the fact that I'm extremely busy during tax season. Time is at a premium. So if I don't have to ask certain questions because the clients know they could ask them during the year to get things entered correctly, it saves me a lot of time during tax season when time's at a premium. So I'm willing to take that time to make sure they're doing it right during the rest of the year, because it's a win-win situation for everybody.
Yeah. Yeah. Do you find that when you're working with clients or prospective clients or people who live in a larger city as compared to small town Indiana type of communities, that there's a difference in the way that you have to work with them, or you need to work with them, or they expect you to work with them?
Well, I find that yes, in our Fort Wayne office, some of our clientele are different than the clientele we have in Bluffton, Indiana. And in some of their expectations, they can be different. I've also got clients, in New York and Dallas and another large New York City. And from that, there is a big difference between people. But from that's partly why I want to be able to be that hands-on with them, so that at that same period of time, even though they want different things or want to be dealt with differently, I can still get in there and get that information to make sure we are going to get everything done for them.
Right.
Because ultimately, my thing that I like to tell every client is this: I don't want you to pay one more dime in tax than is absolutely necessary.
Mm-hmm.
That is what our goal is. We're
Right.
not going to cheat to get there, but
Right.
we're not going to pay one more dime than is absolutely necessary for you. And I try to relay that to every single client. So,
Well, I don't know if you have a sixth sense or not, John, but that was my next question. Uh,
oh,
is there something that you share with each and every client commonly that you have? And I'll
well,
get.
and that is because ultimately, when somebody is working with me, that is our goal. I mean, not to pay more tax than what is necessary, but I do want them to actually pay what they're supposed to,
Mhm.
which is kind of, and I'll tell everybody that that's exactly what I want, because, our taxation system, not perfect by any means, but if we don't have people paying into the taxes, our, roads, all these services, everything that those taxes provide, we do need that. So.
Okay. Excellent. Excellent. Um, John, could you share with us maybe a first step you take with someone who's wanting to look deeper into, tax planning, tax reduction planning, anything to do with their finances or retirement or anything? And I'm sure you get those questions thrown at you. Is there a first step that you take in any way, shape, or form?
I do. Over the years, and you're correct, many of our clients, when we've built that trust factor and you become their trusted advisor, They love to come in here and say, hey, you know what? Will you look at my investments? Do you think they're right for me? Insurance policies. It's everybody thinks all we do is sit around and talk about taxes here all day long, and that's far from the truth. I mean, some of the questions they have because they trust you in these areas, and one of those is in their, retirement type planning, wealth advisory. And what I've learned over the years, and I laugh about a lot, and people tell me, is I tell them, if somebody tells you that you need X amount of dollars to retire, they're wrong, because nobody really knows how much you need, because what's going to happen later on? What's going to be your health? Are you going to want to take trips to Italy and Australia after you retire? Are you going to buy a car every 2 years? You know what? That planning that goes into that, you can't sit there and say, if I have $1 million in my 401k when I retire, then do I have enough to retire? I don't know, because I don't know what you're going to spend in retirement. We have to talk.
Right. Everybody has different dreams and aspirations and goals. So you can't just throw a number out there and expect it to work. I mean, it doesn't work that way.
But you won't find this, unbelievable. There's a lot of people in your profession, you not being one of them, who tell people this is the number you need. And they sit there and try to tell them, so you've got to put away this amount of money every month with me, or this amount per year to get there. And I just find that honestly laughable, because they haven't asked those other questions.
Planning is not about what we know. It's about what they know and what they want, and mainly the questions that you ask. Most people should be asking more questions rather than talking.
Not to bring my father up again, but I will, because he was a very smart, intelligent man. He once taught me, and it took me a long time to figure out this, that the key to acquiring wealth isn't how much you earn, but it's how much you spend. Mm-hmm. And, so I've got clients that make a lot of money, but they're mortgaged to the hilt. They've got high car payments. They really don't have any wealth, any real assets. They make a lot of money, but if they spend as much or more than they make, they're not going to be able to save for retirement and plan and things of that nature. And That's where someone like myself and you have to work together with our clients to educate them properly. So,
yep, I understand completely. You're one of those few that get it.
I like to think so, but
Let me ask you this then, John. What's a mistake that you see many people make that's hard to undo when it comes to either tax planning, retirement planning, anything to do with their financial life?
That's a really loaded question. Narrowing it down to one, I don't know if I could really do that, but if I was just going to have to say one, it's when I have people come in here and they want to take money out of their 401k and they want to pay off their house, or they want to buy a car. And we sit here and have to explain to them, no, you don't want to take it out of there, especially if you're under 59 and a half and you got a 10% penalty. I mean, I don't care what your interest rate is on your vehicle. It's going to be cheaper probably to pay the interest on the car. And then you've lost the money that you put away for retirement in the years for that extra money to be able to grow. And so I'm going to have to say that's the one that I just cringe at when I see people on my calendar, and I know they're coming in to talk to me about taking money out of the retirement account to be able to pay off either their house or a large purchase of some way, shape, or form.
Except for maybe in the 80s. Interest rates are always less than taxes.
Yes, exactly. Of course, I wasn't practicing.
Now that you mentioned, well, I was actually. Yeah,
it was early 90s for me. So
yeah. Okay. Here's something I'm very interested in. And I noticed that you've written a number of articles. And so could you discuss some of the articles you've written for the Journal for Accountancy and Finance Monthly?
Yes, I can. I guess I've been asked by them a few times to write articles in regards to one of them was regarding the impact of COVID on the tax profession in regards to that, because we went one tax season basically where we went contactless. We didn't see clients in our office. We had to really adapt and change. And how did that affect not only that year, but going forward? Because, hey, did we find out that our clients really preferred not to have to come in and see me or anybody else here at the firm. And so they wanted that unique perspective on how that was. The fact that I'm very large into the R&D credits and, you know, the employee retention credits that came out and things of that nature. You know, Journal of Accountancy wanted me to talk about those type of things on how did I get started? How did I, you know, find this niche? Because a lot of people seem to think, you know, and it's been talked about, hey, you're just this little guy in Bluffton, Indiana, you know, what can you know? You know, because the small town stigma, you know, and that small town stigma doesn't, you know, play a part into anything what somebody's knowledge is. We've got a lot of knowledgeable professionals and a lot of all in this area and in Indiana. You know, we don't all grow corn. So
you bring me to another question that I wasn't planning on. Do you find that your expertise in the R&D credits and the employee retention tax credits have helped you obtain new clients?
yes, it has. All through the word of mouth, because I would work with a client and they would see the effect and the end result of those. And then they would go tell somebody that they know in business that, hey, you know what, these things really do exist. Because in my profession, a lot of people stay away from research and development credits for a myriad of reasons.
Right.
One is the fact that there's a stigma that says if you try to get an R&D credit, the IRS is going to automatically audit you, which is not correct. I mean, nobody that I've done R&D credits for have been audited at any higher rate than the normal audit rate from the IRS.
Sure.
So that doesn't automatically, as long as you do things correctly. The IRS wants to see documentation. They want to see that you've done your due diligence and you can prove your calculations. And one thing I do is I send all of those in with every tax return. We're not trying to hide that from them. We're trying to sit there and show them, here's how we came up with these, and this is our documentation.
And reduce the chance of audit.
Well, absolutely. Yeah, that's correct.
Excellent.
So basically in the R&D credit and the ERC side, a lot of that all comes from just word of mouth in regarding to that, from that. But it has picked me up. Most of them, once we do that, stay on as a full client. We do everything else that they need done for them. I do have a few of those that I have done those credits for them. They still are where they were before, but we were the one who took care of taking care of all of the credit.
Gotcha.
And amending their returns if necessary.
John, sometimes this is a tough question for people, but could you define what success means to you?
Yep. Really, it's not too hard for me. And I look at success business and professionally versus personally are two different things. And success to me on the business side isn't money, it isn't wealth, it isn't, you know, any of the awards that I've won or anything else of that nature. It's knowing that I have done my best for a client. They see that and they appreciate it. And the relationship is just works well. And that's a client that you enjoy having. They appreciate what you do for them. And from that standpoint, when you have that and you know that relationship exists and they tell you, that's success to me. That means I have done what I'm supposed to do on this end. So when I get up in the morning and I look in the mirror, I can say, hey, John, you did everything, you know, right, and you could. So from a business side, that's what really drives me. And that's what success is to me, is that satisfied client.
Excellent. Excellent. You know, we've talked about several things here. Is there anything you'd like to share with our audience that we haven't talked about to this point?
Well, yeah, you know, one thing I would be remiss, you know, I'm sitting here talking to you, talking about me and the things that I do, but obviously I couldn't be here and be me without a lot of other people in my life. Obviously, my mother and father, you know, I wish they were still here, but, you know, they raised me right. They taught me well. And so a lot of the things that I've become today and be able to do, you know, I attribute to them. And then I look at my father and my uncle and my grandmother and my grandfather, and you know, they kept the firm going for 3 generations until I could take it over and, you know, even grow it from there. But even from then, you know, one person, just like myself, I can't do it all. I've got a great staff here at the office that I depend upon, that I can rely on. and for that, so that I know that, hey, this gives me time to be able to do what I need to do here. I can have them taking care of other things. And I also know that they're going to take care of the clients the same way that I want them taken care of. I mean, that's been ingrained in a way. And the other thing that I do is that's been very, very beneficial to me is partnerships. Okay. With my clients, I want to partner with their investment representatives, their attorneys, their insurance agents. So we're all on the same page, because I hate it when I see somebody come in and their investment advisor gave them this great thing. We're going to take all of these capital gains during the year, and you know what, we're going to do this. And boy, they've got this big tax bill. It affected their taxability of their Social Security that had never happened before. And these things would all be avoidable if we could just all have that communication, so that we could talk. How is this, or prepare? Hey, we can pay an estimated tax. It's a great idea to do it when you did it, but we just need to be able to be in communication to have that. And that's one thing I will really do, is partner with these people such as yourself, with mutual clients, to make sure that we all are doing our best for them. Yeah.
There's not enough of that goes on between the industries.
I agree. And it's time consuming, but it's necessary and it's rewarding, because you don't have people that come in February and March, and now I tell them they owe $10,000. They've always had a refund, and they didn't realize how certain things would affect them during the year.
Yeah, I mean, I don't think there's anything in life that you can do that doesn't have a side effect. Could be good, could be bad, but there's a side effect, right?
That's very, very true. Great point.
And when working as a team, those side effects are recognized before.
And the same thing with the attorney, making sure if it's a business, do we have them in the right entity? Are we doing everything correctly? And it just, it makes it so much easier than keep up on it at that point in time. Then, I don't know, maybe your memory's better than mine, probably is, Terry. But if I do something in March and somebody's asking me about it next February, my memory about what happened 11 months ago might not be as good as it was if somebody knows about it when it's happening.
Don't feel like the Lone Ranger.
Yeah. So,
John, with all your success, what would you say is your biggest challenge?
After everything, people. People are the biggest challenge. We all know no two people are the same. Sometimes you can do everything right. You can do everything possible for a client. And in today's society, no matter what you do, they're never satisfied. And that becomes, for me, because I want them to be happy. I want them to be satisfied. And sometimes when you're like, you have really done everything you can, and you're never going to please that person, those are the things that keep me up at night and bother me.
Yeah.
Even though I can know somebody else can tell me, John, hey, you know what, you've done it. It's not you. Trust me. I don't care. Because remember how I define success? And that's that happy, satisfied client. So when they're not, that is the thing that is a challenge, because more and more nowadays, people are more apt to just almost be unreasonable at times.
I agree. Yeah, I agree.
I wouldn't want to be you in some of the times when the market is going high and low, because I have clients that come in here and, their investment rep's the greatest person in the world when the market's good, but then they'll come in here when the market's bad and say, should I fire my investment rep and get a new one? You didn't do anything wrong. You can't control the stock market. You can put things in place that, hey, you're diversified well. You've got ups and downs in the market. Those are going to happen. You didn't change who you were. Nobody did. But you can be looked at as in different eyes just because of a situation that you have no control over.
Right. I agree. Well, our time's about up here, John. And your contact information is at the bottom of the screen. But can you go ahead and share with our audience how they can learn more about you?
Sure. You can feel free to go to our website. It's www.emshwiller.net. I've got LinkedIn and Facebook business profiles and pages. They can feel free to call me, sit down and chat. Want to get to know me, want to ask me any questions, find out about me. You know what? I'm there. I'm be glad to sit down and talk to anybody in regards to any questions or anything that they might want to ask, from that standpoint. So, that's probably the best ways to be able to get a hold of me.
Okay, great. John, it's always my pleasure to be able to interview a seasoned veteran that's been around for a while, knows what they're doing, been successful, and can give our audience, good tips and information that make their life better. And so I want to thank you for being on. It's been a pleasure. And everyone, thanks again for being or watching the show this week. This is Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success. I'm your host, Terry DuPont, and hope you join us again next week. And John, thank you so much, my friend.
Terry, thank you very much for having me. Have a great day.
This has been the Better Business, Better Life, Building on Your Success podcast. If you have questions about creating tax-free wealth and income, forward-looking tax mitigation, strategic risk mitigation, wealth preservation and legacy planning, and advanced financial management, go to DuPontAdvisory.com or email Terry@DuPontAdvisory.com.
49 faces looked to him in triumph. Over the last 12 months, they had each taken turns and promoted his business for a week at a time, driving over $987,342 in revenue. What if you had a network of 50 centers of influence who promoted your business every week for a year? Grab your copy of the #1 Amazon best-selling book, The Ultimate Guide to Growing Your Business with a Podcast, at 33% off the Amazon price by going to ultimatepodcastbook.com. Again, that website for 33% off the Amazon price is ultimatepodcastbook.com.